why the ending of Fire Force made me cry. If you have your finger on the pulse of anime and manga news, you may have heard that Fire Force recently ended, and it ended with a pretty big reveal. Despite me being exclusively an anime viewer of the series until very recently, I was kind of uncertain about the reveal, and I thought it was just one of those cringe anime theories that just pops up on your recommended feed. So anyway, let me stop beating around the bush and get to talking about the actual main focus of this video. Fire Force ended a couple weeks ago as of the writing of this video, and in the final couple chapters it's revealed that Fire Force isn't simply another series created by Atsushi Ohkubo that shares some similarities with his other most popular work, Soul Eater. No, Fire Force actually acts as a prequel to the world of Soul Eater. I remember being told this by friends and seeing thumbnails and being kinda suspicious. No way. I really couldn't see how Soul Eater would be created from the ashes of Fire Force. So I spontaneously decided to read all 304 chapters in one night, and it nearly brought me to tears. Sorry for the exaggerated title, but I wasn't sitting there bawling at 4 AM. I silently let a slow tear of joy roll down the side of my face as I realised that something I loved so much during my childhood was being expanded upon. Also, it was 4 AM, so I wasn't going to start screaming and yelping. I have to say this now before I get any deeper into this topic, so minor spoilers for Soul Eater and major spoilers for the end of Fire Force. If you haven't caught up and read it all, I'd suggest reading Fire Force before I continue, but you can do what you want. As I was procrastinating and suddenly decided to read a 300 plus chapter manga in one night instead of doing university work, I didn't really know what to expect. I know I liked Fire Force from the 2 seasons I watched, but to sink in a good few hours into reading it all in one go, I didn't know whether I should, but I kept seeing glimpses into the world of Soul Eater throughout the entirety of Fire Force's run. It started off really subtle and seemingly inconspicuously. The fact that Arthur calls his sword Excalibur, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. A nice little reference to what is canonically one of the strongest beings in all of Soul Eater. Nice. Ooh, how Maya saw the laughing moon from Soul Eater. That's intriguing. A nice little nod to something iconic from Soul Eater. Yo, Takun, he has the star eyes, looking like he's straight from the Starkland where Black Star's from. That's pretty sick. Also, Lord Death's symbol appears everywhere throughout the story as well. In the intro, and sometimes when Kurono kills something, there'll be like a ash puddle of Death's icon. Most of these little details actually kind of come back in Soul Eater as actual plot points. Anyway, when I got around the last 10 chapters of Fire Force, I started to wonder how this was going to become a prequel to Soul Eater. I couldn't see how from this point in the story, the span of 10 chapters where, spoiler alert, Shinra, his brother Sho, and the two's mother are fighting Haumea in the Adola dimension. I couldn't see how we would get from here to here. Then I saw this on chapter 295 and my heart skipped a beat. As soon as I saw this page, I did yelp at 4 in the morning. My eyes barely stayed open, but as soon as I saw this page, I'm not gonna lie, I jumped up and I started dancing. The song you just heard started playing in my head. Do you know why? That song is called Psychedelic Soul Jam. My childhood just sort of came back to me in an instant with this panel. Psychedelic Soul Jam plays in Soul Eater when 2 characters, or 3, do a soul resonance. It just came back to me. This panel made me weep a single tear of pure joy and nostalgia. Josh, okay, are you overreacting? Isn't it a bit much? I mean, crying over something like this? Yes and no. What I cry at in fiction is very peculiar, at least in regards to anime. I've only ever cried a few times. I cried when I first saw future Gohan die when I was a kid. I mean, how could you not? Rest in peace, my boy. I cried twice when reading and watching the eclipse from Berserk, when I saw Judo die, and also from Berserk, spoiler alert, I cried when Casca got her memories back, and obviously I cried a little bit when Miura himself died. And I also cried when I saw Tokyo Ghoul Route A because I genuinely class it as a war crime not fit for public consumption. But when I saw this panel, I don't know, it genuinely touched me in such a weird way. I saw my childhood again, staying up late, watching Soul Eater, trying to get a hold of the Japanese exclusive PS2 game, to no avail. Like most people who've seen Soul Eater, I consumed it relatively young, and when I saw it, I wasn't really what you would call cultured in regards to anime and manga yet. I wasn't surrounded by stupidly expensive anime games and merch yet. It was such a strange and enticing world, so I, like many others, instantly fell in love with Soul Eater. The way I felt in the moment I saw that panel is the same kind of way I felt when I heard Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods was happening. Dragon Ball's returning. But in the case of Fire Force, that feeling was a lot stronger. But it was the same kind of feeling. An old friend was coming back. As I continued my reading at 4 AM instead of sleeping like a normal human being, the chapters got more and more strange. But I noticed something. The only characters that are left alive at this point keep repeating this one word over and over and over again. Despair, despair, despair. They repeat it like they're goddamn Danganronpa characters. And to be honest, the conversation between these two characters that are pretty much on the level of gods at this point talk like it's the end of an actual Danganronpa game, talking about how hope will always defeat despair, hope will always win. Then this panel pops up and I stand up again. I don't dance around this time and shake my booty like I did during the Soul Resonance panel. This time, I began to think, is this where the Kishin came from? Also, I forgot to mention the reason I danced for like a solid 10 minutes straight when seeing the Soul Resonance panel is because I literally went onto YouTube and started playing the song called Psychedelic Soul Jam, and I just kept playing the Soul Eater OST in the background while I was reading the end of Fire Force, which was a really weird and awesome experience because the music kept matching what I was reading. It was pretty dope, but anyway, so I looked at this panel, the Holy Woman of Despair, and I thought about the Kishin. The Kishin, more specifically in Soul Eater, Ashura or Azura, is born from madness and the consumption of human souls. It makes sense. And in Fire Force, Haumea's new form is made from the despair of constantly feeling the entire world's negative emotions throughout her entire life. So I thought, maybe despair is the precursor to madness. Then I also thought to myself, keep reading. This is hype as shit. But don't make too many theories yet and just keep reading. And so I did. The flames that Haumea had sacrificed the world to make so that she could destroy everything were being warped by Shinra. She just wants to die whilst Kusakabe keeps taking her flames and turning them into new life. All while Arthur is just like staring at this from space. Don't worry about him, he's fine. I love the fact that the reason Arthur can breathe in space is purely because he's not smart enough to know that he can't. He just puts on a fucking ring and boop, he can breathe in space. I just find that very goofy and funny. Anyway, Kusakabe at this point is pretty much told that he has the power that is literally of a god's. And he simply does what he did throughout the entirety of the previous 300 chapters and kicks his problems away. Which I don't really have a problem with. He turns back time and returns everyone's souls back to Earth from the tears of this despair saint. Even people who were dead from before the story even started are brought to life. People like Vulcan's family and Benimaru's master, as well as all the girls from Iris's and Sakura's coven. Also, characters who were previously mutilated are coming back as well, with their fatal injuries still intact. Yet they still live. Kusakabe says that he remade the world. However, he lessened the value of life, so despair will no longer be derived from the fear of death. And as Licht says, a world where no one fears death is a world of madness. Ooh, baby. Just seeing that word in this panel made my Soul Eater senses tingle with joy. Haumea then hides herself away. Kusakabe just says that if she doesn't like this world, they can just make a new one. Shinra then just brings Kauron back. Oh yeah, by the way, Kauron, he just died, okay? Kauron gets Haumea to stop hiding and live in this new world. But then they stop and they wonder, what the hell's going to happen to all the lingering despair from the catastrophe in previous world? And then Kusakabe just kind of kicks it away and tells it to go to sleep. He knows that despair will come back and the cycle of despair will continue in the distant future, but just in a different way. The rest of the pillars are also broken out of Haumea, except for two. The two you probably didn't care about. And then everything seems to be okay. Oh, and by the way, the two pillars you didn't care about are Old Lady Sumire? Okay, and Amaterasu. The pillars of madness and disgust. Oh yeah, everything's all happy-go-lucky, except for the fact that the Grim Reaper appears and asks everyone to die. Kusakabe's final wish as a god of this world is to make a tangible god, saying that praising a god you can't even see is crazy. So he made an absolute god, a god of death. Lord Death then takes everyone's pyrokinetic abilities away by taking their souls, I think? Including the pillars. However, one of the pillar's powers isn't there, more than likely the pillar of
Madness.
Matarasu, meaning her power is floating around space somewhere and will probably come back and affect the world in a different way in the future. Since all pyrokinesis is now gone, so is human combustion. Lord Death then leaves to find a place he likes, only leaving behind his phone number, 4242564, whenever you want to knock on death's door, or in Japanese, Shini Shini Goroshi, which basically translates into murder, 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 kill, kill, kill. My Solita's senses at this point are completely shot, by the way, after reading all this. Okay. We then get some nice, wholesome stuff with Shinra and his family, and especially his mother, who seems to be stuck in this demonic form, but since it's a world of madness now, no one really cares. We then get a nice little reunion between the 8th Division before we get the final 2 chapters. These final 2 chapters are purely fan service for both Fire Force and Soul Eater fans, right? But in a good way. It literally starts off with Juggernaut and Tamaki on a date. It is quite adorable, if I do say so myself. In these last 2 chapters, we see just about every character possible doing something that will lead into the events of Soul Eater in some way or another. We see Rekka leave on a journey, more than likely going to create the Star Clan. We see Excalibur, but now in his Soul Eater form. Also, when I saw Arthur talk to his sword while he was floating in space, and the sword replied with "Baka!" I nearly pissed myself with joy. And same thing again when I saw the faces Ogun and Shinra made when talking to Excalibur. It's just calling back to Soul Eater in the best ways. Then we see Inca dressed as a witch, going off to make the Witches Guild or something, only after she is denied the main character's seed, of course. I said it was fan service. It doesn't mean it wasn't weird fan service, okay? More lovely shots of characters being wholesome until the inevitable, 25 years later. It seems that Shinra and Sho now lead the World Hero Force, whatever that is, and Shinra's and Arthur's sons are about to join the World Hero Force as well. But to be honest, these 2 characters just look like Tokyo Revengers characters to me. Then we get another inevitable time skip as this story comes into its conclusion. We see the main protagonists of Soul Eater as kids. We literally see Death the Kid just spawned out with thin air because Lord Death felt like it, and he just creates him in the visage of Shinra, which was weird too because I always thought Soul looked a lot more than Shinra than Death the Kid, but whatever. We then see Blackstar training as a kid, Soul goofily looking up at something, and then we see Death Scythe and his wife reading Maka a story about how Shinra saved the world from despair. Next is Soul World. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? See you in Soul World? Sure, I've been waiting for Bleach to finish its anime for about 10 years now, and we're about to get it at some point in the future. But you're telling me that Soul Eater got a prequel and is getting even more? I'm mind blown. Dated meme, but I mean it all the same. So I'm getting more Soul Eater. Dope. This is why I compared it to Dragon Ball coming back, because it feels like an old friend is coming back. The script I've written for this video is now over 2,000 words now, and it's unstructured and all over the place, so now I'll refer to the actual title. Why did Fire Force's ending make me cry? Well, it didn't. I just got a single tear, but in actuality, it brought me back to an older time of anime. It brought me back to a time when I would watch Toonami as a kid and spend countless hours watching shows that just made me happy. Strange and inspired worlds that I wanted to learn everything about instead of boilerplate, seasonal anime, or another fucking isekai. It brought me back to my first real moments about getting hype in anime, seeing Blackstar fight Muramasa, seeing Death the Kid do sick shit, seeing Maka get bodied constantly. It just reminded me of how much I loved Atsushi Ohkubo's work. New or old, this panel alone connected a story that I only thought had a passing resemblance to Soul Eater through its iconography into a spiritual and literal successor. Or predecessor, if you think about it too hard, since it's a prequel. Whatever. In layman's terms, Fire Force's ending made me cry because it reminded me what I love about anime and manga. So yeah, thanks for watching and listen to me ramble for a good while. It didn't really have too much of a structure to it, so but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you like this kind of video, please feel free to let me know. Also, that Soul Eater game I mentioned earlier, checked it out finally. It's pretty bad. I didn't mention this in the video, but the final scene of Fire Force is the first time we canonically see Maka's mother. Just thought I'd let you know. Sorry for the delay on this video, as well as the Danganronpa video that was supposed to come out a while ago. But Fire Force just kind of hit my feels a bit too hard, so I just wanted to write about it while it was still fresh in my head, even though I wrote the script back in March. Anyway, if you want to gush to me about Fire Force, please feel free to join my Discord or say hello to me on Twitch by giving us a cheeky little follow. Anyway, Thanks for watching this absolute mess of a video, and yeah, doodles my doodles. Hopefully I see you in the next one. Peace.